incredible stories, and not to mention that I was able to bring in so many amazing friends and content creators. All of them, they're linked down below in the description, as well as in the video itself, and by all means, check out their channels. You might find your next favorite streamer or your next favorite YouTuber, and I really hope that you'll enjoy this video. Ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and enjoy the full story of the Lich King. And until next time, guys, see ya! At the beginning of our story, on the planet of Draenor, orcs and Draenei at the time, they lived in relative peace. They would occasionally trade with each other, but overall they didn't interact much and they left each other alone. Where the orcs were born on Draenor, the Draenei were not. They came from a planet called Argus, they were running away from the Legion, and one day they were forced to make a crash landing on the planet. The Draenei were on the run from Kil'jaeden and the Burning Legion as they had refused to join Team Sargeras, and Kil'jaeden was pissed. He felt betrayed by his longtime friend and co-leader Velen the Prophet, and he had sworn that he would hunt them down even if it took him 1,000 years. Each time that Kil'jaeden and the Legion came close to the Draenei, Velen would be warned, and his people, with the help of the Naru, they would escape in time, leaving the Legion with empty hands. It's unknown what happened to the planets that the Draenei evacuated, but now on Draenor, they're stuck, they can't get away. The Naru K'ur, the one that rescued them in the first place, with the dimensional ship called Genadar, he'd fallen ill, which caused the crash landing in the first place, and this meant that they could no longer flee. Kil'jaeden did not notice, of course, and when he was told that the Draenei were found again, he decided that a change of tactics was required. Instead of sending the full might of the Legion and see the Draenei flee once again, he decided to deceive and corrupt the native race of orcs and use them to do his dirty work. His first victim, the one who he chose to make first contact with, was the Orcish shaman Ner'zhul. Shamans played a very important role within the Orcish culture, and Ner'zhul was the elder shaman. The orcs respected him, he was the chieftain of the Shadowmoon clan, and the closest thing that the orcs came to an overall leader. The shamans have a deep connection to the elements of the land, and sometimes they were actually able to make contact with the spirits of the deceased. Rokan, Ner'zhul's deceased mate, would sometimes appear in his visions, giving no words of wisdom, yet she would fill his heart with tenderness and opening him afresh to the needs of his people each time her spirit brushed his. Ner'zhul missed her rough laughter and a warmth beside him at night, but he was content with the way it was. As he made himself a potion, chanting softly over it, getting ready for one of these visions, he wondered if she would visit him tonight. The ritual did nothing to actually cause a vision for Ner'zhul. That was entirely up to the ancestors' will, but deep in Ner'zhul's heart, he longed to see his mate, and his wish was granted. In his vision, he stood next to Rokan, standing on a mountaintop, observing the sunrise, and Ner'zhul's heart lifted. Rokan turned to her mate, smiling, and for the first time since he had exhaled her final breath as a living being, she spoke to him. "You have led our people well," she said, "but the time has come to deepen the old ways, take them further, for the good of all." The way that Rokan spoke with such authority alarmed Ner'zhul at first. Rokan had not been a chieftain, nor did she ever hold a position of power in life that would give her such authority. Annoyed at his lack of faith, Ner'zhul pushed the doubt away. He was not a spirit, so there was much that he did not understand about the spirit world. And why wouldn't Rokan speak for the ancestors? Understand that the ancestors were worshipped and respected by the shamans and the orcs, and Ner'zhul listened with great care as Rokan gave him a warning. She told him that the Draenei were a great threat to the orcs, a blight upon the world, and that they needed to be eliminated. Had Ner'zhul in that moment listened to his gut, he might have realized that the words were false. His vision was not Rokan feeding him information, they were actually the words of Kil'jaeden the Deceiver, using the orcs their faith and trust to place the orcs against the Draenei. He told Ner'zhul that the world would be theirs, and that Ner'zhul would lead all of them. The first step in the plan was to unite the orcish clans and form the Horde. The image of Rokan had been good enough to convince Ner'zhul, but convincing the other
Come on, game
chieftains,
capture, you
that
gonna
would
fucking
be a
do
little
this
bit more
shit?
difficult. The orcish clans, they didn't really wage outright war with each other, but some of them loved fighting a little bit too much, and they were not on friendly terms with other clans. A message was sent to all the chieftains to gather and listen to the dire warning Ner'zhul had received from the ancestors. At the foot of their sacred mountain they gathered, the mountain that they called Oshugan, but which was really the crash ship of the Draenei, with the Naru K'ur still trapped inside. Ner'zhul told them that their enemy was the Draenei, and naturally, Most of the orcs, they couldn't believe that this was true. Especially the chieftain of the Frostwolf clan, Duratan. He could not believe that the Draenei would want to cause them harm. They had saved his and Orc and Doomhammer's life when they were just little orcish boys, yet the ancestors, they do not lie. Even Drekvar, the shaman of the Frostwolf clan, he confirmed to Duratan that it was true, that Mother Kesher herself had confirmed it. And Mother Kesher, she was the elder shaman of the Frostwolf clan before she passed away. Another fake vision of Kil'jaeden, but if there was anyone that Duratan trusted, it was the wise old orc Kesher. How easy it was to plant the seed of doubt, and that was all it took. Ner'zhul informed them that he did not ask them to directly go to war at this very moment. Instead, all he asked of them was to prepare, to discuss what the right course of action would be, to come together not as different clans, but as the same people. They were all orcs, wanting safe homes for their young, success in the hunt, mates who would love them, and honor amongst the ancestors. Despite his doubts, even Duratan agreed that the Frostwolf clan would prepare for war, start training, and the orcs took the first step towards eradicating the Draenei. Over time, the image of Rokan told Ner'zhul that there were other beings besides the ancestors and the elements that the living didn't know about. Ner'zhul desperately wanted to know what these beings were, but Rokan told him that he still drew breath and he wasn't ready to meet them yet. Ner'zhul pleaded to know that they needed their aid if they were to protect the future generations from the Draenei's insidious plots. But what he didn't mention was that he, deep down inside, he started to enjoy being the center of attention from every single orc in every single clan. He did not outright say that he had begun to desire the promised power and that his motives deep down were selfish, but he knew it himself. He felt deep inside. Rokan looked at him and said that perhaps he was right and it was time to meet them. She had also advised Ner'zhul to take a certain amount of food to keep his mind and spirit on the visions that was the explanation I gave him. But it's most likely that this brew was designed to make Ner'zhul more vulnerable to their manipulations. As Ner'zhul took the bait and desired to see these beings that he had no knowledge of, Kil'jaeden stepped away from using the image of Rokan and he showed his true self to the orc. Ner'zhul was sad that his mate no longer appeared to him, but he quickly dismissed the feeling. Surely this being was far superior to even the shade of his beloved mate. And despite Kil'jaeden looking so very much like the Draenei, Ner'zhul drank in his words and followed his words. Orcs attacked Draenei with great ferocity and minimal casualties, since the Draenei, they simply didn't expect to be attacked out of nowhere. But their leader did not sit still. Velen the Prophet wanted to know what was going on with the orcs, why did they suddenly attack out of nowhere? And he sent a letter to Ner'zhul, asking him to join him in a holy pilgrimage to enter the heart of the mountain, the place both races found sacred, and ask wisdom of beings much wiser than them as to how they could cure their guilt. Kil'jaeden and Ner'zhul's apprentice Gul'dan, they were present when Ner'zhul received this message, and they were quickly on the offensive, but the word struck Ner'zhul and he did not immediately agree. He was not so eager to attack those who came on.
Alright, I need to get some more. Let's see here. I don't have any. I should probably check Brill, see if I can get any food recipes. And then I'll go kill some more Scarlet Crusaders and shit like that, get some more cloth. Should I do kill more cloth, or should I just finish out the quests here and start going to the next zone? Yeah, I should go to the next zone here soon.
This would mean almost certain exile, and this would endanger his clan. So he did what he was told, and he rode out to capture Velen. During their conversation, Velen tried to explain to Duratan why he wanted to reach the mountain, that there was a being inside, ancient and wise, that had long cared for the Draenei people. That this being was the reason why the spirits of their beloved dead, the spirits of the orcs, were drawn to this place. But that was exactly the wrong thing to say. The shaman Drekvar was outraged that Velen even tried to suggest such a thing, and the orcs present, they were ready to murder Velen on the spot. Duratan, he punched Drekvar across the face, told him to protect them, and despite his fury, Drekvar followed his warchief's command, and he used the elements to protect Velen and the Draenei. The prophet
for the war chief,
prisoner of the Frostwolf clan, just as Duratan was ordered to do, but the chieftain, he had a bad feeling about all of this. That night, he paid a visit to Velen, trying to find reason behind what he was told. Why were the Draenei planning to do them harm, while the orcs had done nothing to them? And Velen, he simply reversed the question. Why had the orcs attacked the Draenei that had done nothing to the orcs? And Durotan was placed in an impossible
No, downstairs,
position.
downstairs.
Velen's words rang true, yet
Check out the downstairs, see if
and his
that...
traditions, the very foundations which were his life, told him
thought there
otherwise.
was...
He decided to let Velen go.
My
and
brain
he
might be
informed the
thinking of
prophets
somewhere
that
else.
when it came to it, if they would ever meet on the battlefield, he would stand at his people's side. Ner'zhul wanted a prisoner, but Durotan said that if he wanted one, he should have been there himself, and Velen was released. When Durotan made his report to Ner'zhul,
Oh, I think it's for like a Felguard or some shit. Not Felguard, but like Demon Hunter.
The Orcish shaman realized that the benevolent creature actually struck fear into his heart, and his mind started to wander as Durotan's words continued. He noticed Gul'dan's eyes fixed upon him, and another wave of fear washed over as his apprentice witnessed his first moments of doubt. Ner'zhul's mind drifted so far away that he didn't even realize that Durotan had finished talking, and he didn't know what to do. Durotan and the Frostwolf clan, they were well regarded amongst the other clans, so punishing them would have consequences. But he also couldn't let the Frostwolf chieftain get away with this, not after so many people supporting him in their war against the Draenei. Ner'zhul didn't know what to say, and the silence continued until Gul'dan spoke. My master is so overcome with rage that he cannot speak.
Enchanting, really? I don't have to go all the way to Undercity?
Return to your camp, Durotan, son of Garad. My master will send you a letter shortly conveying his decision. Ner'zhul found his words, and he agreed with Gul'dan's plan.
That doesn't do anything, what the hell?
Shortly afterwards, Ner'zhul informed Kil'jaeden of their failure, and naturally...
Enchanting, nice. So I don't have to go all the way to Undercity. Too bad there isn't a fucking cloth trainer right there, dude. Templar.
Kil'jaeden raged. Eventually, Kil'jaeden managed to compose himself again, and he told Ner'zhul to never again trust Durotan with an important task like that. They did take
God damn it, Durotan.
Crystals that Velen had carried with him, and these crystals, there were 7 in total, they all had great different powers. Ner'zhul informed Kil'jaeden about these crystals, about their minor victory, thinking that it might please the Great One, but to someone like Kil'jaeden, these crystals, well, they weren't worth anything. The crystals would be more use to the Orcish people in their battles to come against the Draenei. As Kil'jaeden asked, that is...
Can't get that fucking head because there's too many bitches around him.
Fear again clenched hard at Ner'zhul's heart. Of course, Lord.
I know how to get that one.
Ancestors' will. Kil'jaeden looked at him for a moment, his brilliant eyes emanating flames. It is my will, he said simply, and Ner'zhul nodded frantically. Of course, it is your will, and I obey you in all things. The next few months, the orcs would continue fighting against the Draenei.
Yeah, before I leave, I wanted to check something. That's my problem, trying to do too many things at once.
The ecstasy of blood spilled. The orcs grew more skilled at killing the Draenei, but Ner'zhul's doubts grew and grew. He tried to fight back his suspicions, terrified that somehow Kil'jaeden was able to read his thoughts. But they came like maggots arriving from a corpse to hunt his sleeping, waking thoughts. Kil'jaeden looked very, very similar to a Draenei. Was it possible that they were somehow the same? And was he, Ner'zhul, being used in some sort of civil war? The thoughts came until Ner'zhul could take it no more, and he decided to make a trip to the sacred mountain to find some wisdom. He stepped towards the pool. He made his offer, waiting for the ancestors to appear, but nothing happened. He did not panic right away. Sometimes the ancestors took their time about responding, but when more time had passed, unease began to sit in Ner'zhul's heart. Ancestors, beloved dead, I, Ner'zhul, shaman of the Shadowmoon clan, leader to your children, have come seeking, no, begging wisdom. I have lost my way to your light. The times are dark and fearful, even as we grow stronger, more united as a people. I question the path I am on, and I beseech your guidance. Please, if you have ever loved and cared for those who have followed in your footsteps, come to me now and advise me that I may lead them well. The pool began to glow, and in the water he saw a face looking back at him, the face of his beloved Rokan. But with pain in his heart, he realized that she was looking at him with a face filled with hatred. Other faces began to appear, dozens of them, all with the same expression, and nausea welled inside Ner'zhul as he cried out, "Please, help me, grant me your wisdom that I may win favor again in your eyes." Rokan's features softened somewhat, and it was with a trace of compassion in her voice that she spoke. There's nothing you can do, not now, not in 100 years, to win favor in our eyes. You are not a savior of your people, but their betrayer. As the ancestors turned their back on him, Ner'zhul realized what a fool he had been, how easily he had let himself be deceived. On his way back, he tried to come up with plans to turn it all around, to bring the orcs back to the right path, but his apprentice Gul'dan, he had other plans in mind. Gul'dan had followed Ner'zhul to the mountain, had seen all that transpired, and he informed Kil'jaeden that Ner'zhul was about to betray him. Kil'jaeden was mad, of course, but punishment could wait, as Gul'dan was now chosen to follow Kil'jaeden's plans, while Ner'zhul was forced to watch as they corrupted and manipulated his people even further. From that moment on, Ner'zhul's story would be watching as his apprentice Gul'dan stepped into the spotlight. Gul'dan had always had a lust for power, so there was no reason to play games. Kil'jaeden could simply be honest with Gul'dan, and Gul'dan had no problem with using his people to benefit himself. The elements eventually abandoned the orcs, since even they recognized that a war against the Draenei was not the right way. In exchange, Gul'dan offered the orcs a new source of power, fel magic, and the first orcish warlocks were created. They used this fel magic, these warlock powers, to literally suck the life out of their children, magically age them, and produce fighters at a much faster rate. Blackhand was appointed to be the first war chief of the now officially formed horde, but in truth, it was actually Gul'dan running the show with the Shadow Council. The war against the Draenei went as planned, until only their city of Shefrev remained. For this final battle, Kil'jaeden sent Manoroth down to offer his blood, granting the orcs incredible power, but also churned them into slaves. All the while, Ner'zhul was forced to watch, but the wolf still had some teeth. He wrote a message to Durotan. He was against Gul'dan and all that the horde did, but again, he couldn't speak out. Ner'zhul warned Durotan not to accept Gul'dan's so-called gifts, so the Frostwolf clan, they refused to drink, while the other chieftains, like Romash Hellscream, they embraced his gift willingly. With the demon blood pumping in their veins, the orcs stormed Shefrev, murdering every Draenei, man, woman and child that they could find. Kil'jaeden saw the slaughter and figured that his plans were successful, that Vel and the Prophet had finally been taken care of, so he left Draenor and he left the orcs to their fate. Prophet Velen and the Draenei, they'd realized that the Burning Legion was behind their war with the orcs, so they decided to leave a few of the people behind in Shefrev, and these were quite a lot of people since they had to make it look like a lot of Draenei were still left behind, while the rest of them hid away in Zangarmark. The use of fel magic and the war had corrupted and nearly destroyed the planet of Draenor. Lands had dried out, water was hard to find, food was limited. All around, the horde started to rise up against Gul'dan, who had led them down this path. Thankfully for Gul'dan, the corrupted guardian Medivh, he made contact with him and he showed him the world of Azeroth, a land with water, food and plenty of enemies to give the orcs to fight. The promise of the world led to the first orcs, but Ner'zhul was not invited to this one. As Gul'dan and the horde took down for him, causing him, he found out about Gul'dan's corruption and that Blackhand was being used as a puppet. He challenged Blackhand to leadership of him. He won this battle and he was trying to guide the horde to a more powerful way while still trying to conquer the Draenei. They simply needed this planet, so Doomhammer, even though he was powerful, he still tried to defeat them.
Yeah, I'm dead.
Gul'dan, he was no longer in a real position.
I thought I could just. I didn't realize I fucking aggroed that many. Jesus Christ.
Amongst them Terrangor. He created
Fucking.
Super Magi. He abandoned the horde at a critical moment of the war, and this caused them to lose the siege of Lordaeron.
Damn.
Eventually, losing the siege meant that the horde was pushed back all the way to the Blackrock Mountain, and there they were eventually defeated by the Alliance of Lordaeron. Like I said, Gul'dan didn't care about his people. All he wanted was power, and he believed that he could find that power in the tomb of Sargeras. But all he found there was his own demise.
I am Gul'dan. I am darkness incarnate. It cannot end like this.
The Alliance followed the escaping orcs to the location of the Dark Portal. Khadgar closed it, as some of the orcs, they stepped through the portal to return home to Draenor, but they were defeated. Ner'zhul and the orcs left behind. They saw the retreating orcs. The Death Knight Terrangor informed Ner'zhul of what had happened, as their gateway to a better future was shut down by Khadgar. Although Khadgar was able to shut down the Dark Portal, he was unable to completely sever the connection between Draenor and Azeroth. The Death Knight Terrangor had worked together with Gul'dan, and he could feel that there was still some sort of connection. They could empower that rift, reunite the Horde, and invade Azeroth, this time not to conquer the planets, They tried, and the Alliance was simply too powerful to take the planets, but they could go back to collect 3 powerful artifacts and use those artifacts to create more portals to different worlds. Surely, other planets would not put up such a fight as Azeroth had, but first things first, they had to empower the Rift, and the Horde required a leader. That's why Tarangor needed Ner'zhul at his side. Even though Ner'zhul was deceived, the Orcs still regarded him as a high leader, and with Ner'zhul at his side, he was able to team the plans. But when he first showed up in the village, Ner'zhul did not want to listen. He was lost in his despair, to think about nothing else but his own mind. And Tarangor had to convince him, and he did his best to explain his plans and give a little bit of hope to his mind. Eventually, Ner'zhul was willing to listen, and together with Tarangor, they made that choice. First, they needed to power in order to open up the rift, and to do this, they had to get their hands on the skull of Gul'dan. This skull was picked up by one of the warlocks who joined Gul'dan in the Tomb of Sargeras. The Orc survived the events in the tomb, even though Gul'dan did not. He picked up the skull switched owners a few times, until it eventually came in possession of Hurakan Skullsplinter. Hurakan was the chieftain of the Bone Chewer clan at the time. Ner'zhul, he was able to convince the other chieftains of their clan, and he placed Gromar's Hellscream, war chief of the Warsong clan, on a very special mission. Gromar's was charged with convincing Hurakan to give him the skull, but Hurakan was quite happy with the artifact, and he did not want to give it up. This man, Gromar, he was able to take control of his weakness, the demon blood pumping in his veins, and he was able to fulfill his mission and even convince the new chieftain, Tagar Spinebreaker, to join him